It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Time for the Southern California Writers Association Hump Day Book Tour. I'm Maddie Margarita here with Diana Pardee, SCWA's Tech Wizard. Every Wednesday at 10 a.m., the Southern California Writers Association turns our Facebook page over to a new and different writer to talk about their work. This morning, we are pleased and proud to welcome Leif Beiley. Leif is best known as the designer of fast and beautiful racing sailboats. He has won national and international regattas, including the B25 National Championship. And in 1996, his B32 won the prestigious Sailing World Boat of the Year award. Try saying that 3 times fast. That doesn't work. A native of Southern California, Leif grew up on the waterfront and took up sailing and surfing at an early age. As a teenager, he started making his own surfboards and soon found himself making them for his friends. After military service, he studied mechanical engineering in college and worked as a design engineer in the aerospace industry for 11 years. In 1986, he left aerospace and founded V-Boats Inc. to build racing sailboats and retired in 2010. For the next 6 years, he and his longtime partner, Lisa Burford, went cruising abroad Finisterre. Did I get that right?
Finisterre, yeah.
Finisterre. They're a 42-foot sailboat. Together, they logged over 25,000 miles at sea and visited many countries. After returning home in 2016, they settled in Huntington Beach, and Leif became more interested in writing. Voyage to Crusoe, did I say that right too?
Yep.
Yeah. His first novel was inspired by some of the wild situations and interesting characters he encountered in his travels. Wow. Welcome, Leif.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I see your cover in the back of your book. I mean, it's always great to have an opportunity to have an adventure, and especially one that's crafted and written by somebody who's lived a lot of those adventures. So do you want to talk a little bit maybe about the story, about your experience and how the two kind of mesh together?
Well, sure. The story was actually inspired by a friend of mine, a man that I met when I was still a teenager, who lived a very colorful life, and some of his adventures were outside the law. And as time went on, years passed, he found himself in a situation where he needed a job, and he came to me and he worked for me in my boat building company for a couple of years. And then he went off and sailed around the world again by himself. So this guy, I started out thinking I would write this fellow's story, but the fact is a lot of the people that we would consider villains are still alive and still around, and probably wouldn't like their names in the book. So I decided to fictionalize it all. So the story ends up not being about my friend's life. It is basically inspired by him. So
interesting.
Yeah. So as far as writing goes, during my business career, I did a lot of magazine articles and things like that, and they were always well received. And then when I retired and came after our cruising life was over, came home, I thought I would try my hand at writing a novel, and it didn't go very well. My first chapters were pretty bad, but I was fortunate to meet another sailor, a guy by the name of George Snyder, who ran a little writer's critique group over in Long Beach in the basement of the Barnes and Noble store. I went there, and my work was roundly criticized by the members of the group, but George, being who he was, knew a good story when he saw it, having written about 40 novels of his own. And he encouraged me to keep working on it. And it's really thanks to him, who became a close friend and a mentor to me. A lot of the success of this book can be traced back to George Snyder.
It's always nice. Sometimes writing can be so solitary. So it's nice to have people that are around and involved and support you during the process. So can you give people a sense of the story so they have some idea of what they're into when they are getting into when they read the book?
Sure. So the story is about Cliff Demont, and he's pretty much an ordinary guy living a reasonably comfortable middle-class life. But his life takes a sudden turn when he decides to quit his job out of frustration, and he goes home early and finds his wife in bed with another man. And that causes his life to spin off its axis, and he finds himself staying on his friend's boat in a rundown marina in here in LA. And the story goes that he embarks on this voyage with his friends on the Staghound, and it is in a way a kind of an adventure, but it turns out that there's really a secret mission involved, and it has to do with taking weapons to a remote island off the coast of Chile to help the insurgents who are fighting against the brutal dictator Augusto Pinochet. So they get there, and the deal goes bad, and most of the crew is killed, and Cliff is left with the incredible challenge of sailing this boat back to the United States with the only crewmate he has left, who is the beautiful and mysterious Lena Voss. And once they get home, he goes back to his old life, tries to put the pieces together, and Lena disappears. The problem is, during their voyage, he's fallen in love with her, and he can't get her out of his mind. And I'll let you read the book and find out how
I know what happens. Wow. So it has all the elements of a great story. I mean, yeah. It sounds like it could appeal to just about anybody. When you wrote it, did you have a demographic in mind, or did you just write your story? Or
I just wrote the story, but I wanted my characters to be very nuanced. I wanted to really develop the characters, including the villain. So the hero, Cliff, you see his entire biography, and the way I write is I write a complete biography of all the main characters before I write the first word of the story, so that I know them and I know how they're going to react and what they're about and what their flaws are, and how they manage the crises that come along in the story. And I did that also with the villain. I'm of the opinion that villains are, or let's say sociopaths, are mostly made rather than born. And it's important to show how a villain became a villain, how he was damaged or she was damaged. And so I bring that villain's autobiography or his biography into the story so that you can relate to all of the characters.
Wow. It sounds fascinating. And I know that, just reading your bio, I think everybody gets a sense of how much boating, yachting, sailing has been a part of your life. So when you were writing this book, was it difficult for you to balance the sailing aspect with the plot aspect, with the character aspect? Did they fight for stage time, or?
Well, I've read a lot of books about sailing, obviously, and one of the problems I see in books that usually incorporate sailing into the story is the sailing is basically sort of a device to get the story going or something like that. And they're usually not very accurately portrayed. So I wanted to take my readers really out on the high seas and share with them the experiences of what it's like to be out there, especially on a shorthanded sailboat where it's just you and one other person, and you have to really not necessarily fight for survival, but you have to do everything to survive. It's if you don't survive. And I tried to bring a lot of that into the story and interweave it with, like I said, the nuanced character developments. So I put these people on the boat, and each one of them has a very distinct personality. Each one has something vital at stake. And it turned out to be a story that will appeal to men, women, sailors, and non-sailors. And I made sure that for all the non-sailors out there, that I put a glossary of sailing terms and descriptions in the back of the book, and included drawings of the two boats that are primary characters in the book, so that anybody can get a real feel for what the story is about and what it's like to be out there.
So you've obviously spent a lot of time out on the ocean, and
Yes,
you can
I have.
see it's such a mysterious primal experience. Have you had experiences where you felt like, okay, this is a little dicey, or this could be it?
Yeah, there were, I'll tell you about one instance. We were anchored in this beautiful little cove, and it was early morning, and suddenly this boat comes roaring up, an outboard powered boat about 25 feet long, with 6 guys in it, all wearing black and fully masked, carrying automatic weapons. And they boarded us. And as it turned out, it was the Mexican Navy. But when they showed up with guns out and just coming right aboard our boat, yeah, it was a little freaky. And we had several experiences like that, but we were fortunate to we were never robbed or had anything like that go wrong. So we saw a lot of that kind of stuff, but we never actually were victims.
Well, it's funny, when I was asking the question, I wasn't really even thinking about piracy. I was just thinking about the elements and,
Yeah.
what can happen on the high seas, but the piracy element adds a lot more danger to it. I guess you realize that you really are alone,
Yeah.
and you are isolated, and you are left to your own devices and experience when you're out there. Wow. So I know that you said that you have been enjoying book clubs, and that the book clubs have been calling you and saying, yeah, we'd love to hear more about the book. What is it that you think, in terms of response that you've gotten to the book, or from, to the book, that people who have read it are most interested in? What's the most positive feedback you've gotten?
So there are kind of two camps. There are the people that are sailors, and they just love the sailing aspect of it. And the others are intrigued by the characters. And the female protagonist, Lena, has been real popular, especially with the women in the book clubs and things like that. But I really think that they've been more or less surprised by the narrative, by how the arc of the story, how it starts out, this guy who's at loose ends and is really unhappy, and he comes in contact with all these people, and who all have, like I said, their own agendas and their own needs. And coming out of the other end of it, this guy who basically was at a loss in life finds love and fulfillment, and even his career, which was basically on the rocks when he left, is revived because of the quality of his character.
Interesting. And I know, again, that the book has been out for a little bit. So if somebody's looking to purchase Voyage to Crusoe, where can they find that?
It's on Amazon. It's available in ebook and paperback. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can download it for free. And it's also available in print from Barnes & Noble as a paperback.
And like you said, you're available for book clubs and to go out and talk about it, and probably just sailing in general, because it sounds like you have a million stories.
Yeah, about half of every presentation I do is talking about sailing.
So I wish we had more time. Next time we'll talk about sailors and storytelling.
Sounds
Because I
good.
think
I'd like
there's
that.
there's a legacy there of sailors and fishermen and storytelling that goes way back.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
uh,
And I'm going to continue that in my next book, which is in process now and should be out around the end of this year.
Okay, is that a sequel to this book, or is it a
It is the sequel.
standalone? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll get to find out what happens after that last page.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being here. Good luck on the book. I know that you'll do well. As we were saying, it's sounds like the kind of book that not only sailing aficionados would enjoy, but anybody who's ever wanted to sail or who's dreamt of sailing or who just would like an escape. Is that accurate?
That is absolutely accurate.
Okay. All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you. We
All right.
enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I hope that if you are watching and you've enjoyed this, that you will go to, oh, there it is, Amazon and pick up Voyage to Crusoe. And if you'd like to share this conversation, please feel free to share it on Facebook, or also go to SCWA Writers Online, our YouTube channel, where you can view this video and others like it. And hopefully you will like and subscribe and share that so that we can continue to highlight and support our local, and even, I guess, so far it's been international authors. So until next time, we will hope that you can keep reading and keep writing, and we will see you soon. Bye.